I first met Jack at a bar in the East Village, a few blocks away from my apartment. I was there with a group of friends, all in our mid-40s, looking to unwind after a long day at work. He was sitting alone at the bar, nursing a beer and reading a book. I couldn't help but notice him. He was young, maybe in his early 30s, with dark hair and bright blue eyes. He looked up from his book and caught my gaze, and I felt a jolt of electricity shoot through me. We struck up a conversation, and I learned that his name was Jack. He was an artist, working on a series of paintings that he hoped to exhibit soon. I was immediately drawn to him, and we ended up talking for hours. We exchanged numbers, and before I knew it, we were going on dates. As our relationship bloomed, I began to notice judgmental glances from people on the street and disapproving looks from some of my friends. They didn't understand what I saw in Jack, what drew me to him despite the age gap. But the truth was that Jack wasn't like anyone I'd ever met before. He was incredibly intelligent, with a depth of understanding that went beyond his years. He was passionate about his art, and it was inspiring to watch him create. His paintings were full of color and emotion. Each one was a window into his soul. It wasn't just his talent that drew me to him. Jack was kind and thoughtful, always going out of his way to make me feel loved and appreciated. He would surprise me with small gifts, like a bouquet of flowers or a box of my favorite chocolates, just because he wanted to see me smile. And the way he looked at me, it was like I was the only woman in the world. He'd hold my hand and look into my eyes, and I could feel the love radiating from him. It was a love that transcended age or time, a connection that ran deeper than anything I'd experienced before. As our relationship deepened, I couldn't help but think about the future. I was getting near retirement age, while Jack was still building his career. I worried about what would happen when I eventually retired and he was still working, whether we would have enough in common to sustain a relationship as we grew older. But at the same time, I couldn't imagine my life without him. Despite my concerns, we continued to grow closer. We traveled together, exploring new cities and immersing ourselves in different cultures. We went to art galleries and concerts, trying new foods and enjoying each other's company. And on lazy Sundays, we would stay in bed all day, reading books and talking about everything and nothing. For a time, it seemed like we had it all: love, passion, and a deep connection that defied age. But as the years went by, the weight of our age difference began to take its toll. I started to feel the gap between us widening as Jack became more focused on his art and building his career. Despite my concerns, I tried my best to stay optimistic. I loved Jack, and I truly believed that we could overcome any obstacle if we were willing to work at it. But when Jack's father became ill, everything changed. Jack became distant and withdrawn, and I felt shut out of his life. I tried to be there for him, to support him through this difficult time, but he pushed me away. It wasn't until he admitted to having an affair with a younger woman that I realized just how much our age difference had come to define us. I was devastated. We tried to work through our issues, to salvage our relationship, but it was too late. The trust was gone, and the love we had once shared had been replaced by resentment and hurt. With deep regret, we went our separate ways. That was 3 years ago. I resigned myself to the idea that we were meant to be apart, that our age difference had been too great of an obstacle to overcome. But as those 3 years passed, I found myself longing for his companionship, missing the love that we once shared. One day, while browsing the internet, I stumbled on your website. I read the stories of how you'd helped couples rekindle their love. I was skeptical at first, but something about your approach spoke to me. I decided to give it a shot, and I requested a spell. I was not in contact with Jack. I did not know how your spell would manifest, but perhaps I thought he would call me out of the blue, or knock on my door holding a painting of me in flowers. That is not how it happened. For several weeks after the spell was cast, nothing happened. I cannot say I was surprised. I was, after all, skeptical. But then something very strange happened. I ran into Jack in the village. It had been years since we'd seen each other. Was this coincidence? He seemed genuinely pleased to see me and suggested we get coffee sometime. A week later, we were sitting in a coffee shop, one of our old haunts. To my amazement, Jack was telling me that last week's his head had been filled with visions of me. Scenes from our shared past were finding their way into his paintings. He said he had finally realized that our love had always been strong, but it was our own insecurities and doubts that had led to the affair and driven us apart. I could barely believe what I was hearing. After years apart, he was saying everything I wanted to hear. I came right out and told him so. At my age, there was no use holding back. And right there and then, we agreed we should try again. We had nothing to lose and so much to gain. It wasn't easy, of course. There were still moments of doubt and insecurity. But taking it one step at a time, we got better at communicating those doubts. Talking our insecurities through helped us stay connected even during times of stress or conflict. Slowly but surely, our relationship has blossomed again. We've taken trips together, explored new hobbies, and are learning to appreciate each other in new ways. We laugh, we cry, and we loved with a newfound intensity that neither of us had ever experienced before. Looking back on our journey, I realized that the love that Jack and I share is truly timeless. Your incredible spell, Joshua, has helped us to overcome the obstacles that had once driven us apart and to rediscover the beauty and magic of our love. I know I will never be able to thank you enough for what you have done for us, and I hope my story will inspire anyone else who is in my position to give it a go the way I did.